I'm Mark Halley and Mr. Saltwater Tank, coming to you on behalf of SaltwaterAquarium.com. This is Mr. Saltwater Tank, RUF, raw, uncut, first impressions, the show where I call it as I see it, about a product that I haven't seen before. Most of the time. Sometimes you got to do a little research before you jump into a product to make sure I can give you some good and accurate information, which is what happened today. I'm looking at the AI centrifugal pump, the Axis 90. There's three different sizes for this bad boy. The 90, which is rated up to 90-gallon tanks. The Axis 40, which is rated up to 40-gallon tanks. And the Axis 20, which is rated up to 15-gallon tanks. Why didn't they just name it the Axis 15 or make the Axis 20 rated for 20? I don't know. I'm not on the product naming committee. That would have made sense. But hey, that's not going to change your impression of it. Know that there's a small size, more for all-in-one type tanks, all the way up to the 90. You can put this down in your sump. If you had a larger all-in-one, you could put it in the back, because there's a couple different ways you can plumb up to this thing. There's two barb fittings, 1 inch and 3/4 inch. And then if you're like me, you're going, wait a minute, I'm a hard plumb guy. How do I hard plumb to this thing? Disclaimer here, there's nothing wrong with soft plumbing. It's much easier to deploy, and there was a time when even I was intimidated by hard plumbing. So if you're a soft plumbing person, no shame in that. Know that there's two different barbs that come in the box. But if you're a hard plumb guy like me, I called Ecotech and said, wait a minute, where's my bushing that I can glue to? They said just screw off the collar that holds the barb in place, and then you can just use your threaded to socket adapter, and you can plumb to this thing, hard plumb to this thing all day long. So that's pretty cool. Any way you want to go it, you've got options right out of the box. Now, there's also a controller on this. If you're familiar with the AI Nero pump, it should look very familiar with you. Plug this into the power brick, comes with some nice cord management and mounting hardware for this thing, and you're off to the races. You can simply adjust it with the button here, one button, or if you're like me, you're more of a techie type, you can use the Mobius, you can use the My AI app, or if you have a Neptune Systems Apex with the MXM box, you can control this, which begs the question, why do I want to control a return pump? Well, one, this is nice. One of the things that you can do is you can simply ramp up how much flow you need off the software. Back in the day, we only had AC pumps. You had to get it close to the right size, and if you had too much flow, you simply put a T in your return line and you bled off some pressure. No more. You've got a controller or software to do it for you. And when you hit a feed mode, this thing doesn't have to stop and let water run back down into the sump or the back chamber of your tank. You can calibrate it so that it's just barely pushing a tiny bit of water back into your tank. Keep this thing spinning, and then it will interface with your other intake flow pumps. You can spin those down. This will all spin down at once. So one button spins down your axis. One button also spins down your intake flow pumps as well. Another thing to note about this thing, since it's a centrifuge pump, it pulls from the bottom, it makes for a nice compact footprint. Other return pumps, they have more of a long footprint where water comes in the front and water shoots down the top. This guy is built for space saving, so if you have a tight sump or that all-in-one tank, you want to replace the return pump in the back. So, one thing I will say, this is another reason why I didn't just jump into this thing. Looking at the Get Started guide, you have to put these cool little snazzy rubber feet on here, which is nice because it sits on the bottom of your sump and it dampens any vibration. However, these things took me a minute to get on. I pushed it on when I had the cover on like this. I couldn't get them on. So when you install the feet, make sure you take this little guard off the back and then put them on here. It may help to put a little pin in there to pull them out. There's just a little side tip. So I'm going to hook one of these things up. I'm going to play around with the software, because these days, if you have a DC pump that doesn't have some kind of accompanying software, it's like you're missing out. I mean, you got to be able to do more than that. That's one of the reasons these things are controllable. But I dig the nice compact size. It's really going to be useful for those of you that have smaller tanks like this is rated for. Because look, if you had this in your return chamber and you also have an auto top-off sensor, you might be running out of space, especially if you have a larger return pump. This thing is going to fit right down into your return pump chamber, give you plenty of room for whatever else you might want to put back there. Maybe you have another pump going to your media reactor, or you have a pump going to a calcium reactor, something like that. You've got a lot of space now because this thing is very compact.